Hello, everyone. Um, Hello, everyone. We'll be starting in a second. Just give it a few more seconds here to start. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. If while you're waiting in the for this to start, feel free to put your name and company into the chat. Feel free to put down where you're zooming in from even. But we like to kind of see where people are interning at and where they are at in the chat. It'd be great. All right. I think we're good to go. So welcome everyone to our first webinar of the summer. It's week 2 of our program. It was so great to see so many of you at last week's kickoff events. You were able to meet each other, and hopefully those who went to Portland were able to bowl. Those who went to Brunswick were able to hang out and have fun. Those who went to Bangor had fun as well. It was great to see you all. Some of you even took up the offer to go and check out the play on Sunday. So we really love that kickoff. Love to see you at the kickoff events, and we're really excited to start this webinar off. Just want to give a shout out to Juliet again, our main career catalyst intern, who's doing an amazing job and been connecting with all of you. If you have any questions, obviously please reach out to Juliet. And I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen now and introduce our panelists. I'm going to start with David Pease from Bangor Savings Bank. He's the Senior Vice President and Director of Talent, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, among many other things. David does a lot of things. You probably, hopefully, met him out at our kickoff events. I also want to introduce Kate and Mosey, who are Bangor Savings interns, and Gabe, who's a Bangor Savings management trainee. You're going to hear more from them later on. What I'm going to do is turn the mic over to David. He's going to be leading a really informative and very important topic about personal brand, building your personal brand. No one has it better than David as a personal brand. He has done so much for building up the internships in the state of Maine, supporting young professionals like yourselves. So you're in really great hands. Hopefully you learn a lot from this. Please drop your questions into the Q&A as it goes. We are definitely open to hearing questions early and often. And we really are excited for this talk. So David, I'll leave it to you. Take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm so thrilled you're here. Again, congratulations on being interns this summer, and super kudos to you for taking advantage of the kickoff events and the educational events. This, to me, hopefully will really enhance your experience this summer. So again, let's start by just talking about what is personal brand. So I'd love to see some comments about what, from your perspective, what is personal brand? So this is a way to get you all started. So some comments, please. What are we talking about when we're talking about personal brand? Wow, I'm not seeing any comments. So if there are no comments, There we go. A personal brand, the skill set you would specifically like to hone in on. A personal brand is a way you portray yourself and how others see you. Personal brands are those initial thoughts people have when you hear your name. It's your professional sort of positionality. So love those comments. So yeah, I mean, I think personal brand is really about what do people saying about you, right? And it's not really who we think we are. It's not really what we think we are. It's really about how others see us. But we obviously we know people judge, right? For those of you who met me at a kickoff event, I'm sure you immediately said, "Wow, who's this guy? You know, with the fabulous shoes, or who's this guy with a weird outfit?" So, like, we begin making judgments with people the minute we meet them. So, part of a personal brand is making sure that you're managing that what people are seeing is what you want them to see. So why is personal brand so important? Why do you think personal brand is so important in the work environment? We'll start with that. Why is it important? I love this, how you present your values and values, the way you approach your work. Personal brand is how you decide yourself to sell yourself. You all are so smart. So why is it important? To be memorable. I love that, Hannah. Great job. The way you approach work. Oops, I went backwards. Distinguishes you, differentiates you from others. Absolutely. It allows you to get a sense of who you are and how to work with them. Love this. The way others perceive you impacts your opportunities. Absolutely. It's important because of developing a good reputation among the people you work with. Absolutely. So again, a personal brand, when you have a positive one, it actually makes work easier. So as somebody who has not applied for a job in 20 years, but have had, I think, at least 3 jobs plus a lot of part-time jobs during that time, um, it I have not applied for a job because people reach out to me. So when you have a positive brand, you just don't have to work as hard in terms of finding a job. You don't have to be as challenged as somebody who is not known or doesn't have a personal brand. So a big part of what we're going to talk about today, from my perspective, is I think a big focus of what you all have been focused on as students, right, is to, for some reason, I'm not sharing. Here we go. Is kind of focusing on sort of what you want to be. And I think, to me, a big part of personal branding is looking at who you want to be. So again, once you know kind of who you are as a person and who you want to be known for, I think it's just a lot easier to then after that make decisions about what job do I want? How do I want to spend my free time? Which boards and community service am I going to be spending time on? How do I, utilize my personal brand with my family and friends? So when we focus a lot more on who we are rather than what we want to be or what our major is, I think it just opens up just really great decision making for everything that we decide to do in our lives. So that's a big part of what we're going to do today. And I've just I like Alice in Wonderland. So I've kind of talked about this presentation as being through the looking glass and intern in Wonderland. So the first question I'll sort of ask you. So this is really a self-reflection. So I hope that you all have a piece of paper and a pen, or you have your phone that you can take notes on. But I am going to ask you some questions throughout this conversation presentation. I think it's super important for you all to just write down some things, because again, we're going to go back, or you should, after the presentation, think about creating a personal brand statement. So again, are you curious? Just that's the question. Yes or no? Are you curious? So the great thing is that I think as students and certainly as interns, and even being here today at this session, I think you are all curious, right? Intellectually curious. I think you're all inquisitive. So that's a really good news. That's really good news, because one of the things I want to share with you is that only 22% of American workers view themselves as being curious. So I believe that by you just being who you are kind of as a student and kind of taking that into the work environment, your curiosity, your inquisitiveness actually already differentiates you from like 70% of the workforce, right? So this is a good thing to know. But part of what branding it's about in which degrees we possess anything. So, I kind of my next question for you on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being exceptional, how curious are you? So, if you're just going to give yourself a score of your curiosity level, 5 being exceptional, 1 being kind of poor, what would be the number on your scale? So again, I want you to kind of go deeper with this. So if you think you're really strong in curiosity, I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Did you ask a question for clarity today or yesterday at work? Did you meet a new person or create a new relationship over the last 2 days? Did you make a recommendation for an improvement at work over the last 2 days? And then did you do something new, or did you learn something new or do something new for the first time over the last 2 days? So again, see how there are different levels of curiosity. So on the surface, I want to say, hey, I'm super curious and give myself a 5. But when I really start looking at some more specific questions, I start thinking, well, maybe this week I'm only a 3 in curiosity. So again, that's part of what this is. If curiosity is something that you believe to be a really great strength for you, I believe it's a really important attribute at work. What can you do in the remainder of the week to be curious? And again, I would just also say, so again, this is curiosity at work. So how are your coworkers seeing you in terms of asking good questions, making suggestions, and the same in the classroom? If curiosity is a high sort of priority for you and kind of defines who you are, would your classmates and would your professors, based upon your performance in the classroom, think that your curiosity was above the normal student? So again, I want you to continue as we talk along. There are different degrees with all of this, and that's what we're kind of talking about. So, along with curiosity, I think the other attribute that's really important for all workers is to have courage. So, again, part of this is, are you courageous to really start looking at your professional self, to look at what you're really good at, but also maybe what some of your shortcomings are? I don't waste a lot of time on what I'm not good at, but I know I'm not detail oriented. I know oftentimes, I don't get caught in the weeds. I'm very informal. I just kind of go with the flow. And I know people that work with me wish I were a little more, a little bit more sequential and a little bit more focused and structured. So again, part of it is understanding what you're not good at. But, I would always say focus on what you're good at and really leverage that in the work environment. But again, the same question to you in terms of your courage. On a scale of 1 to 5, how courageous are you? Courageous at school, courageous at work? Do you tell your friends and family members if you see something in them that's not good? Are you making suggestions as a brand new set of eyes in your organizations about maybe what the organization might be doing differently? So this is a little bit of what truth seeking is. So we're just starting this just to get you understanding kind of the levels of things like courage and truth. But now I really want to get into, to me, the really important questions. In the comment section, I did actually put these questions on as an attachment. So they're just called self-reflection questions for branding. And so again, I would definitely encourage you to download it. And if for some reason you're not seeing that in comments, you can reach out to John or Juliet or directly to me. I'll give you my contact information so you can get those self-reflection questions, because that's really what we're going to spend most of the time on. So my first question about, as you start defining your own personal brand, start with, what are the traits that you admire in others? Think about 1 or 2 people in your life that you really admire. Who are they? Again, their names aren't as important as why do you admire them? What are their traits? What are their personalities? What have they done for you that you admire? So as you're kind of writing that down, I'm gonna sort of call on my VIP guests. So Mosey, I know when we were doing this, I think on your second day as an intern, you definitely shared with me someone that you admired. Do you want to share that now?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but
I can hear you.
So since we spoke, I think it's changed for me. Now we have went to the two amazing people that I admire the most, probably my mom and dad. Uh, I kind of pick up a lot of things from them, just being as curiosity as I am and being thoughtful through everything that I ask. But also the things that they have done, a lot of things that they have done for me and my siblings to be where we are today. So that's something that I can't really take for granted. If I was to give you an example, I was born in a small camp in Tanzania called Nyarugusu. So in that camp is food and a lot of things are not really enough for everybody. So just them being able to, you know, doing whatever that they can to make sure me and my family are fed, and even just, being able to confront a lot of people to make sure me and my siblings are being treated well. So I think that's something that I admire a lot from my parents.
That's a really beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mosey.
Yeah.
Again, and it's also really important, like to even like being willing to share, about how your beginning started before you got to the United States. So thank you so much. I do want to just say I think there's some background noise as you were speaking, Mosey. So if you're in a public area, I'm not sure if you can find like an office that you can go into because there was quite a bit of background noise that I heard when you were speaking. Gabe, do you want to share with someone that you admire?
Yeah, for sure. My story is not exactly the same as Mosey's, but I do find that my parents are some of my biggest role models. I had specifically wrote about my dad, but in the case that when I was growing up, I'm one of four brothers. So my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad worked very hard to give us a better life since I was young. And I take a lot of what he does and kind of sort of emulate it in myself. He's very dedicated to his learning, so he likes to read a lot and watch videos when he doesn't understand something. So that's something that I try to do to increase my knowledge on things that I'm curious about. And then in that same breath, he questions everything. So I find that being very important. Is that if you don't know something, finding out answers is always going to be able to remind yourself that just learning anything is possible. And he's also a great teacher. So I find that people who can teach something to whether you're a 5-year-old or whether you're 65 or somewhere right in the middle, that's most important. Having the knowledge to talk to many different types of people and be able to present the same knowledge in a way that's understandable to people is something I admire and try to do in my own life. And just as well, selfless qualities. That's all part of your personal brand as well. Being selfless shows that um, you can do things for others at the expense of yourself, and I think that's very important to showcase, especially in your professional careers. And finally, persistence. I'm huge on always, whether or not I have the motivation, making sure I push through and do what I need to do to get where I want to be. So, um, yeah, that's just some of what I look for in my dad and try to emulate in my own life.
Wow, that was a really powerful description, Gabe. And working with you all of what, 2 weeks and a day or two, I would say that you are starting to emulate him in a lot of those ways. Again, what you described in your dad, I'm definitely seeing in the short time I've been working with you. So again, that's it. Like everyone's who you admire is different. What you admire in people is different, and that's important. Some of you may share similarities to Mosey and Gabe, but some of you may have very different attributes and different heroes in your life. So again, this is our personal brand is unique, right? No one has the exact personal brand, and so part of this is who do you admire. Sort of the next question is what defines success for you? I think as we're growing up, a lot of what we see on social media and on media in general is sort of fame and fortune is kind of what everyone desires. But as I've been working for 40 years, I see that that is not what motivates everybody. It motivates some people. But what does success look like for you? So again, just think about, you know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, if you can think about it, kind of toward as you're ending your career, what will success look like for you? What are some of the attributes that you hope your life looks like? as you age and as you grow personally and professionally. So I'm just going to give you a minute to think about that. All right. So as you all are still writing your thoughts down in terms of what defines success for you, Kate, would you like to share with the group how you define success for yourself?
Hi, David. Yes, I'd love to share. I think that for me, success kind of falls into two subcategories that come together where you find some of the concrete accomplishments and then more internal accomplishments. So for me, for concrete things, someday, I'd love to have a house, get my degree in a couple of years, have a stable job. But the real success within that, I think, comes from the way that those things can impact you and others and the way that you feel. So being able to have a home where everyone's kind, where there's stability, where you can be physically and mentally well. I think that for me, those are the most important things to success, but also being able to take success that you cultivate for yourself and then share it with others. Because in my life personally, a lot of the success that I've been able to reach, especially just in the last 3 months, has been as a result of other people sharing their success with me and providing resources to help me. So I think that that's a huge part of success as well.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kate. Yeah, I mean, I think going beyond, because again, I mean, I'm sure everyone would want to have a home, but I love how you describe it in terms of being welcoming and kind and accepting and safe, right? So it's more than just the physical structure. It is really about what home means to you. And again, just seeing how you have had such, even getting this internship has been through the help of many people. And now that you've been given this opportunity, you're taking every moment of this opportunity to just get better and better as a person. So thank you so much for sharing that, Kate. That was really great. Mosey, I know that this is also kind of important to you as well. What defines success for you?
I think Kate kind of touched base on a lot of things that I had on my part, but again, for me, a lot of things that plays in when it comes to success is the impact that it has around everybody who surrounds you. So that can be through family, can be through different organizations that you work for, that can be through work, just the impact and the happiness that comes with that. And I was also as a young person, I was also taught to appreciate everything from a young age. So just being able to appreciate everything that comes with that, and seeing everybody happy, and just all the smiles on their faces and all those things. I think that's what defines success to me. So
Yeah, again, Mosey, you're being very wise, because this whole concept of being appreciative and having gratitude, that is not something that I saw when I was in my 20s. I would not have said what you just said when I was in my 20s in terms of what success looked like for me. But now that I'm far away from my 20s and at the end of my career, having gratitude, waking up every day and being really grateful for what I have, being really appreciative for the people in my life is probably my biggest indicator of success. So kudos for you for having such wisdom and insight, in your early 20s, to see that just being appreciative and grateful for what you have, I think, is a really important element or ingredient of success. So again, thank you both for sharing, Kate and Mosey. And again, audience, what again does success look like for you? And each of you are going to have different things. And during over your time at 20, at 30, at 40, at 50, different things will matter to you, and different elements of success will be coming through during that time. So again, keeping the Alice in Wonderland theme, is what is your muchness? And muchness to me are, what are your top strengths? What are the things that you are naturally gifted at? One of the things that we'll be doing with the Bangor Savings Bank interns and management trainees, we're going to be using the book called Gallup's Strength Finders. So I know a lot of colleges offer this to students. If this is available to you at your college, I would highly recommend taking the Strength Finders assessment. It will give you a very concrete outcome of what you are naturally gifted at, your top 5. There's actually a list of 36 characteristics that if you pay money, you can get the whole 36. But by just taking the assessment, you'll get your top 5. So again, what are your natural strengths? It's always good to start with your natural strengths. So Gabe, I know you are very aware of some of your strengths. So what do you think are what's your muchness? What are some of your top talents?
So this was one that I actually took a little while to think about. I didn't get the chance to take the Gallup Strength Finder.
We'll be doing it next month. We'll be doing it next month.
So it took a little bit for me to kind of look inside myself and see what would be an outwardly strength for myself. So first, I would say creativity. So living in a house with 3 other brothers, we were very creative from a young age. Just a lot of imagination since I was young, just doing a lot of stuff with them. So like as I've grown up, I've found that in my work and even in school, I've enjoyed the creative projects that I've had the chance to pursue. I've really enjoyed art and I did theater when I was younger, so that kind of opened my mind to a lot of opportunities. I would say in my previous work experience as well, I did a lot of database management and design. So that kind of opened my perspective to designing things that would be beneficial, but also fun and interactive for people that you work with. So creativity has always been on the forefront for me. And next, I would say leadership. I've held quite a few leadership positions in different organizations. And part of what I've learned from leadership is that you can't be stagnant. So even with leadership, I would say adaptability, they kind of fall in one and the same. Being able to adapt and learn from the people beneath you and the people that you work with has definitely been one of the things that I wasn't strong at first, I would say, when I first went to college. But my leadership talents have grown through my experiences. And I would just say, as young career professionals like yourselves, just give yourself time to learn and adapt to situations, and you'll just grow naturally into leadership positions. Next, teamwork, kind of one and the same with leadership. Again, a lot of leadership roles require you to work with teams of people, and sometimes you're not always going to agree on everything. So coming into things with an open mind and an open heart and trying to understand that reaching a general consensus is the best point as long as everybody can compromise. So teamwork through sports and my fraternity that I was in, that definitely played a role in generating those skills. And then lifelong learning. Again, I mentioned as part of who I admired my dad with his learning skills. I definitely took that on, and I try to learn something new every day. That kind of is part of going into defining success. So just finding the strengths that define yourself and then lean into those, and they'll help you in the future.
Wow, Gabe, that was great. You definitely have muchness. So before we go to the next slide, I would just, another question I love to ask our candidates for internships and management training is, what's your superpower? So again, each of us does possess something that I think we really are incredible at. That really is our superpower. So that's another really great question to ask as you're sort of looking at what will be my personal brand, is what's your superpower? What can you be known for? And how can you use that superpower to benefit others? The next question is just sort of like, who are you? Again, it's very similar to what's your superpower. But again, I think one of the people defined it when we were talking about why is it important? Why is personal brand important? And this is, how do you differentiate yourself from others? I talk to thousands of college students every year as we're looking for management trainees and interns. We interview hundreds of people for these positions, and yet we have 10 interns and we have 4 management trainees. So what was it about those individuals? Because again, all the hundreds of people we talked to, they were all really talented, they were all really great. But again, there was something that stood out for each of the 10 interns and the 4 management trainees that we're now working with, because there were things that were unique and different. So again, continue to look at who you are, what is your authentic self, and again, make sure that you're really building this into a personal brand statement in terms of what makes you unique and what differentiates you. The next thing is really important is just what are your values? What do you value? What are your values? What are principles that are non-negotiable? And this, I think, by really understanding this will benefit you at work, but also personal, because you won't ever engage in things that kind of are in conflict with your values. So again, be clear about your values, write some of these down. These values are sort of like your North Star. All right, so I think these are some really core things. I can't see any questions at this stage of the game. If you do put them in Q&A, and hopefully as soon as I get done with this PowerPoint, I can look at them all and answer them. Unless, Juliet, you can see some of the questions, I'll just keep going forward. Oops. So let's just kind of go away from these core beliefs or these core values, these core strengths, who you admire, what success is to you. And let's talk a little bit about work, right? Because again, personal brand in this context, we're kind of, even though I think it's who you are all the time, we are kind of talking a little bit about you at work. So, I mean, I think oftentimes I believe that job descriptions and job titles can limit people. I believe that there's so much you can do beyond your job description. So just always be very aware not to, if you're a marketing major, just don't look for marketing jobs. Look at things that will bring that you can bring your full self to a job and use as many of your skills and talents as possible. So again, if you could create a perfect job, you may not have a title, but what would the job entail? How much autonomy would you have? What kinds of work would you be doing? Who would you be working with? And what kind of work environment would be ideal for you? So just kind of envision, based upon what you know about work so far, elements of a really great job or a really great work environment with a really great manager and a really great work culture. What would that look like for you? And as you're sort of thinking about what's going to work for you in a work environment, I think Mosey is going to share kind of his vision of what a perfect job would be for him.
Thank you, David. For me, it's kind of different, and I think that's very interesting because I am very big on collaborating. So having something that we all come together at the end of the day or just at the end of the week and celebrate or just brainstorm our ideas and see some room for growth and all the improvements that we have made over as a team. I think that's something that I'll call as a perfect job to me. And also just creating an environment where it's safe and everybody is freely to speak up about any situation or open up about anything. When that can be personal, that can be work related, that can honestly be anything in general. I think that's something I'll call a perfect job to me.
It sounds like a really great job to me, Mosey. Yeah, I mean, it's more than just what you're doing. It's how you're being treated. It's making sure that you really have a true sense of belonging at work, right? That, that your voice, that your opinions, that your insight matters. It's seen and it's recognized and respected. So yeah, I think that's a really beautiful view of what a great job would look like for many of us. So really thank you for sharing that. So the next question is, what gives you joy? What are the things in life that, I just, when certain things, when I experience them, like my heart patters, I get tears when something really exciting happens, I get goosebumps. So what are the things that give you joy and how can this be worked into your personal brand? So kind of as you all are thinking about your joy, Kate, what gives you joy?
Hi, David. Thank you. I think that for me, joy, honestly, the most joy that I can harness comes from anything where I can just be myself. And I know that sounds really cliche, but like I find that I can express that a lot through music. So I spend a huge majority of my free time listening to music, sometimes practicing music. I used to play a variety of different instruments, which I've grown out of now that I've grown into other things. But music and spending time outside, I feel like especially now that the weather's good, getting that extra sun and everything really just contributes to finding joy. And I think that along with that, just having time to myself, having time to reset and to think and to reflect on everything really brings me joy, because then I know that when I am in interaction with other people and when it is time for me to, come out of my little bubble again, that I can present myself to people in the best way and that I can feel genuinely rested and prepared to give to them the best version of myself that I want them to see, and not me, exhausted and needing rest. So I think that just being able to solidify the good things about myself makes me happy, because then I can use that to give back to others and see them be happy.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Kate. Again, this is what's important, is the importance of knowing yourself. Like, for you to be your best around others, you need time alone, you need time to recharge and re-energize. So that you already know that, to me, is such a differentiator, because a lot of people I know my age still don't know how to do that, Kate. So understanding this already about yourself, this is why personal brand is so important. It's more than just what you project at work. It's being aware of you at all times. And whether it's at work or at home, you've just described music, being outside, and just having time to think and be alone and re-energize is going to be super important to who you are, for you to have the greatest level of success. So that you already know that, Kate, is really exceptional. So thank you so much for sharing that. And again, this is why personal brand is much more than just what we project at work. So one of my biggest pieces of advice to people is, yes, we should be focusing on what at work, like what do we want next? But a lot of times I've been able to create my own job, and I've encouraged other, even young professionals, look at your organization, look at what is needed, look at something that isn't working well, look at your own strengths, and make suggestions of how you might be able to fix that or to do that. And I've seen people create their own jobs by just being able to look around them and see that something needs attention, and they have the skills to do that. Beyond work, though, it's the world, right? What's happening in your community, what's happening in the state, what's happening in the country or the world that really needs your help, and you have the skills to do it. So I really like this one, right? In terms of going beyond yourself, because sometimes we can be the solution to something that we're seeing. Again, think about this right now. What at work, what in your community, what in your own school might not be working well, and how, what skills do you have to potentially improve upon that? So Gabe, you're always up for challenges and having impact and contribution. What do you think you can do? What do you think the world needs, and how do you think you can positively contribute to it?
Yeah, so I would say I kind of look back towards what Mosey said about having a perfect job, right? A lot of what we talk about here, especially when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging now, it's about being open to hear everybody, everyone having a voice at the table and hearing what they have to say. So I would say something that the world really needs is just more people that are attentive to everything that everyone has to say, because everyone's opinion matters, whether you believe so or not. And people have a lot to offer. I think sometimes we get caught up in this personal brand thing. And something me and David had talked about a lot was first impressions. And first impressions are not a definitive factor as to who you are. Some people experience social anxiety and other situations when meeting someone for the first time. So being able to recognize that people are not immediately what you see on the surface is something that we need to take a step back on and make sure that we're looking to get to know someone and hear what they have to say and appreciate the experiences they've been through. So to continuously contribute an impact to that, it's going out of my way on a daily basis to either meet one new person, especially in my position at this new bank, in such a large campus, but just always involving people in what I do and making sure that people feel heard and comfortable around me. So
Thank you Gabe, and a perfect transition to the next thing is who surrounds you. So I think Mosey also talked a little bit about, being surrounded by really positive people. So that's, I think, part of this. Strong brands don't really do it alone. I have worked really hard on my brand, and I think I've maintained it for a really long time. But I definitely have a group of mentors and people that are sounding boards and friends who are emotional support and professional colleagues that I really value, and I ask for feedback on what else I might be able to do. So again, really, as you're building your personal brand, think about if you have people right now that can support you and enhance your personal brand, but maybe who's missing. Do you need a mentor to help enhance who you are? Is there someone this summer, as you're going through your internship journey, that you meet, and maybe just asking them for some feedback and some advice? So again, really look at this summer experience as interns to see, are there people that you meet that might be able to enhance you and your personal brand? Sort of one of the last questions, I think there are a couple more on the self-reflection one, is what's your why? And this is very similar, I think, to, kind of who are you? But I think this is really it. Like, I believe that, people are, here for a reason. I think there's many things we contribute in a lifetime, but I kind of believe that we each have our why. And I think, part of our personal brand should be about, what do we want to do with our why. So when I returned to Maine, I was one of those Maine kids who moved out of state to start my career, and I came back, and I had to move out again, and I came back. And when I came back, I did a program called Leadership Maine, and I really created a vision that at that time, that was about 25 years ago, about what is my impact going to be, and how do I make sure that I never have to leave the state again to do work. And so I really created a vision 25 years ago that I think I've kind of done now, and probably gone beyond what I even thought. So, but a lot of it was, what's my why, and why am I back in Maine, and how am I going to take advantage of this situation? All right, and looking at time, we have a little bit more time left. I did want to share sort of, this purpose Venn diagram, which I think is very helpful. Again, you will have access to this PowerPoint to reference. I think it's just one of those things. I reference it at least once a year for myself. And then, of course, I share it with our interns and management trainees. But, what are your strengths? What do you love? What does the world need? And how are you going to get paid for it? Because again, we do want to be practical about getting paid. And then I think when all of those things overlap, I think in the middle is our purpose. What is important to us? Again, I think in terms of, what are our strengths and what does the world need? Dan Pink, who has written the book Drive, talks about that, basically people need autonomy, they need mastery, and they need purpose. So, those are things that motivate us. So again, I love this diagram just to sort of continue to look to make sure that I'm focused on my strengths, what I love. Am I helping the world be a better place, or at least my state? And am I getting paid? And is this my calling? Is this my purpose? So with that being said, because I want to make sure, and then of course, what you do with all of these questions is you're going to build a personal brand statement, right? And we have a form that's just called a personal brand statement. Again, we'll share this with you. But that's, I think, what we're doing. And this is not something you should just create today and then not look at it. As I mentioned, for our interns and management trainees, we talked about this in their first couple of days in their job, and we're now talking about it again. In July, we're going to be taking the book Strength Finders and giving them some concrete evidence on what their strengths are. And then Hammy, who works with me, and myself will meet with each person and really, really work with each person. For the interns, what is the brand that you're going to go back to school with? What are you going to do maybe differently than you've done before? And then for the management trainees, how do you make sure this brand is what you're projecting every day as you're working at Bangor Savings Bank? So with that being said, I want to stop sharing the slideshow so I can see people. And I'm not sure why I can't. All right, perfect. So with that being said, I definitely want to make sure we have time for questions. So I see we have a few. All right. So Kaden asked 22% out of exactly how many workers are curious? Is there a number attached to this percentage? No, I mean, I think this was just a survey that I saw. So usually these surveys, would use a number like 1,000 American workers. So I don't remember. I've been using this stat for a while. So I don't know exactly the study. But again, it was just a study of American workers. I would say it would have had to be at least 1,000 workers, but some of them, of course, have tens of thousands in those surveys. Mandy asks, how do you map out the path to where you are currently and to where you want to be while developing your personal brand? That is a really great question, Mandy. So this, I think, is one of the challenges. So I would say, first of all, really focus on your brand. What is what are you really good at, and just continue to sort of getting people, because again, part of your brand is about creating a positive reputation, getting to look like getting to be one of those employees, or one of those students, or one of those leaders that everybody wants on their team. So I think that is going to help you get to the next step. We're spending a lot of time. So the management trainees have already met with a lot of the leaders of the bank, and they're seeing that personal kind of career plans are not exactly like they were traditionally, like where you started as a marketing specialist and then you moved into a market manager and then you moved into a marketing director. Actually, most of the people in our marketing and community relations group have been in many different jobs within the bank. And because of their knowledge of the bank, they are now really poised to lead those functions. So again, on your pathway, understand there's many different pathways. Don't look at just one thing. Again, part of it is, remember that some jobs that exist today will not be existing in 5 years, and many jobs that don't even exist, we don't even job titles, are going to be available to you in the next couple of years. There's so many new jobs being created in artificial intelligence, business analytics, and things, again, that we don't even know about. So I would just say, just keep working your brand, keep trying to be a great employee. One of my best pieces of advice for employees is continue to ask your manager and leaders in your organization, what's keeping you up at night? What are your pain points? And how can I help take that pain or help you sleep? So when you when you're really helping others, when you're trying to help your organization, I think that's one of the best things you can be doing to get to the next level in your career path. Caden asks, how do I balance the things that give me joy, running, reading, and writing, with my daily work responsibilities? Exactly, Caden, right? You'll hear a lot of older people talk about work-life balance. And one of the things that I'm making really clear to our interns and management trainees is that it's not a work-life balance. You're one person. Caden, you are Caden 24/7. So part of your job is, okay, I have to work because I need the money. I'm still going to school. I have to do that. But it's really important that you prioritize you. Often people are prioritizing school or work, and they're not often thinking about the things that are healthy for them, the things that provide them joy. So for me, I'm a person who didn't really like working at the gym. I've made excuses for years not to go to the gym. I just realized that I need to do it for my own health. And so I just book it in my calendar. I'm like going, okay, I'm going to the gym on these days. For the first time in my career, I'm leaving work early to go to the gym. We have a gym at our Bangor campus, and we encourage people just to do that throughout the day. So I know a lot of interns and management trainees are doing that in the morning, during lunchtime, or during the day, or after work. And so I think you just need to schedule it, and you need to understand that taking care of you, taking care of your health, is one of the most important things you can do. And I think, as Kate said, when you take care of you, you actually do a much better job, and you can take care of other people. How many times by a personal brand get revised over the course of the average worker's lifetime? Kaden, you've got some really great questions. Yeah, so I don't know how many times, but I think a personal brand does get should be evaluated regularly. I don't think this is a constant. I think, as we've talked about, at different stages of your life, different things are going to be of value to you. And so I think always making sure that you're prioritizing those things in your personal brand. So I think I think what I would love for you all to do is to kind of start thinking about putting together just even a draft personal brand right now, and then just taking the opportunities this summer as you're doing education, as you're going to these networking events, as you're meeting more and more interns and employers, keep thinking about this brand. And I'd love by the end of the summer for each intern to have sort of a kind of a really strong brand statement to go back to school. And then once you get back to school, you may find that that needs to change. And each year of school may change. And then, of course, once you graduate and start your professional career, then it may change again. So, yeah, I think the most important part is this is just something to go back to. I used to create like a career path, or kind of my professional goals for each year, and I sort of updated my personal brand each year. So I think those are two really great documents. What do I want to accomplish this year from a personal professional perspective, and how am I going to demonstrate my personal brand in the pursuit of those goals? So I think those are really two great sort of documents to keep looking at and keep revising.
David, I just want to jump in real fast and to say
Yes.
that I hope that people got those in the chat, the series of questions that David was going off of, and then the template to build your own personal brand should be shared with you in the chat. So I hope that everyone has a chance to find those, to work with those questions. I think hopefully you had a lot to think about over this presentation, but really to try it out. And maybe some of you've already started during this actual thing, but I think it'd be really good as you begin your young professional journey, like David's saying, to do it now, update it, revise it. And David, there's also a couple of questions that were in the chat that
Okay.
made it to the Q&A, but really wanted how do you go about revising it? It seems like, as you can look back, you said that you've had 25 years or so of a strategic vision. Like you probably did that even before 25 years ago,
Right.
but like how do you go about revising it? And then also the question of showcasing it.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw Rose's question about showcasing, so thank you so much for doing that, because that was part of the presentation I just didn't get to. So again, I mean, I think I really like these questions. These are questions that I ask myself. These are kind of questions that interns and management trainees have sort of helped me develop over the last few years. So I think just having these questions, so I think these 15, self-reflection questions are a good starting place. But I think it's just about asking yourself questions. And again, making sure, and I think a lot of it is asking for feedback. So again, the whole thing of curiosity, I think one of my superpowers is being inquisitive and curious. But I have also known that in certain circumstances, that might not be what's being seen. So I ask for a lot of feedback. When I'm not sure that my brand is being projected the way I want, I just ask a lot of people sort of for feedback. Like, do you see me being curious at meetings? Are you seeing me, being curious? And I mean, a lot of people who know me know that I love to travel. And I think people see my curiosity and my sense of adventure when they follow my trips around the world on social media. So again, just it's about, and that goes back to Rose's question, how do we showcase this? Again, part of it is we just need to live it and do it every day. But one of the ways we can enhance it is also social media, right? I was so proud of so many of you who I met last week at these kickoff events. You immediately connected with me, right? So you took the opportunity when you met me to connect with me. Several of you have already liked some of my LinkedIn posts. After you connected with me, you immediately started engaging, and I've been engaging with you. So when you post things, I like your posts. When I post things, you engage in my posts. That is one of the best things we can do, right? Is when we just show genuine interest in other people, the people in our world, in our professional and personal network, when we are just cheerleaders and encouragers and just saying, great job, that is part of your brand. Today, some of the interns said, do we have to go to this session? I'm like, no, because you've already gotten the education. However, Mosey and Kate and Gabe are going to be on there. So you might want to be on just to cheer them on, right? So again, several people have joined from Bangor Savings Bank this education event, even though they've already seen the information, just to cheer on their colleagues. And that to me says an awful lot about their brand. So again, social media is a really great way of enhancing it. And then just having people talk positively about you. So I think now I have these brand ambassadors for me. They say stuff about me that I don't even need to say it anymore. So do we get all the questions, John? I'm not sure if we've answered everything.
There was one in chat about how you make a brand multifaceted and not honing on one specific mission or goal. So she was looking for
Yeah. So you want to answer that, Gabe? Turn on your video and answer the question.
Where's that voice coming from?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. I just wanted to point it out. But yeah, so I would say and the ability to make something multifaceted also comes from that curiosity standpoint. So I don't really see a personal brand as being linear. I think it's a good base plate for you to kind of discover some things about yourself, especially being where David's assigned 12 questions to it. It really makes you think, and it's not something you just sit down and do. I'm really big on self-reflection, so I found that this exercise is actually really helpful to being looking inside myself. But as far as being multifaceted, David had the chance to mention how we had the opportunity to speak to bank leaders. And when it comes to not trying to be one thing, when it comes to your lines of questioning that you might ask industry professionals, don't try to just focus on something that you might just be interested in right now. Think about the future where you might be later on and try and ask questions to find that. So something we're doing this Friday as management trainees with David is focusing on things that limit your career. Um, you know, one of our points is being that you're not your major. And that is a great point about being multifaceted. So finding what you are in yourself, finding your interest can kind of generate the ability to be more front facing in areas where you aren't just this. Like, for example, I'm very big on competing with myself, but I also love competing with others. So I love going golfing because it's a challenge against myself, but I also love team sports because I get to collaborate with others. So just try and do things where you can increase your own knowledge, but also your knowledge through collaboration, and you'll just find more things out about yourself, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good explanation, Gabe, is that, when you look at your competition, your competitive nature and sort of, that's important of kind of who you are. So you can, of course, put that into play in school. You can put that into play at work, and you're putting it into play in golf. So that's just a really great example of how using that one attribute that is you and sort of making it a part of many things that you're participating in. So that's part of why I love personal brand. It is not just about work. It's just, again, focusing on who you want to be. So that's really how I end it today is, again, I know there's a lot of focus on at school about your major and about what you're going to do after you graduate. But I would say keep focusing on who you want to be, because I think then those decisions of what kind of job you're going to take, what kinds of things are you doing in your personal time, I think they're all going to fall into place if you keep making choices based upon who you are and what's really, really important to you. So I really thank you all for being here today. Again, Gabe, Mosey, Kate, you did a fabulous job. As I knew, you shined your brilliance. So thank you so much. And again, I will be at the Portland Headlight event on Thursday. So come up and say hi to me if you're there. And again, if you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn, please do. And please reach out to Gabe and Mosey and Kate as well to make them part of your social network. Everybody have a great day. And thank you.
Just want to thank everyone for coming. David, thank you for leading that workshop. Juliet will be sending out a lot of this information to you all, but also just keep an eye out for the weekly newsletters. If you're not getting them, please reach out to one of us, Juliet or I. Really thankful that you're all here. Hope to see you, hoping for good weather on this Thursday where we have a pretty big event coming up. So thank you all for coming. And David, thank you.